Hello, Internet. It is I, the Malik Aaron, and welcome back to Box Office Predictions. And today we are talking about the Marvels. Oh boy. So, as usual, we're going to be going over the pros and cons. Yes, there are pros to this. Okay, it doesn't seem like it, but there are pros. So, we're going to go through pros and cons. So, let's get to it. Pros. So this is part of the MCU. This is the 33rd flick. Yes, they've made that many movies in like 15 years. Like, god damn. But yeah, the MCU, it's a juggernaut. I mean, the success of the MCU, I don't think will ever be matched ever again in the history of movies. Like, I seriously doubt it. Because the MCU was so big, like stupidly big. Like, it felt like every movie was an event. So most of these movies have made like $1 billion. Well, not most of them, but a good amount of them made $1 billion. Like the first Avengers movie, Iron Man 3, Avengers Age of Ultron, Captain America Civil War, Black Panther, Infinity War, the first Captain Marvel, Endgame, Spider Man Far From Home, and Spider Man No Way Home, all $1 billion hits. And they're playing movies that made like 800, 700 million. So these movies can make some bank, like for real. And yeah, so obviously the franchise is the biggest in movie history, so that's an easy pro right there. But there's also a lot of cons to that, and I'll discuss those cons later because those cons are definitely having a negative effect on this movie. So yeah, but the MCU is still a big, 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 big brand. So that's a pro. Another pro is that this is, well, it's a sequel to Captain Marvel, but it's also a sequel or a follow up to WandaVision, Miss Marvel. But really, like Carol Danvers, Miss Captain Marvel, she's technically the main character. So yeah, this is a sequel to Captain Marvel. So let's talk about that. So Captain Marvel came out in 2019, which feels like a lifetime ago. Like, ugh. So Captain Marvel. This was the MCU's like first female superhero movie. Didn't help that DC already had Wonder Woman like 2 years prior, so Marvel was real late to the game with this. But it didn't really matter because even though this movie got like a ton of online, I don't like, is hate the right word? It's a ton of online, discourse, let's just say that discourse that I remember clear as day. Like, people would not shut up about this movie. It got kind of annoying after a while. Hell, I think I made a video about that a long time ago when I was like in my, I think it was like anti SJW phase, a phase that I would love to forget. But um yeah, all that buzz, all that talk, the people still showed up to see it. I mean, it opened with 153 million, which is a hell of a number for a superhero's like first movie. Because like this is like an introductory flick for Captain Marvel. Like, she didn't make any appearances in any other MCU movies prior to this. Like, even Black Panther, he debuted in Civil War. Same goes for Tom Holland's Spider Man against Civil War. So I guess it was Ant Man. Like, compared to this, like the Ant Man, like this opened at like 100 million more. So yeah, that number looks really good, and it made 426 million domestically, over a billion worldwide, made more than Wonder Woman, and it's, so far it is the biggest superhero movie, well, female superhero movie ever. So I can't call that a negative, can't call that a con. But there is like a con to this movie that I have yet to discuss, but we'll discuss that later. But yeah, Captain Marvel made money, can't deny that. So I have to label that as a pro. So the fact that the first Captain Marvel made $1 billion, yeah, that's a pro. Another pro is that competition this weekend is non-existent. Like everything is just dead or just not landing. So that's a pro, I guess. Is there any other pros? Oof. I think that's really it. Yeah, well, I guess uh yeah, that's it. I think that's really it. Okay. Cons. Oh boy, where do I start? um MCU, let's go to that. So the MCU, sure, it's the biggest brand ever. Plenty of their movies have made $1 billion, but that was a long, but like those days of glory, that was a long time ago. Because now in 2023, things have changed, and they've definitely changed for the worse. Because Marvel, they're not hitting it like they used to, which is some would say is a very much an understatement. Because after Endgame, it seems like everything has been kind of going the wrong way, and that the wrong way it's only been accelerating ever since. Because you had Endgame, and then you had Far From Home, and then you were supposed to have like Black Widow come out in 2020, but then COVID happened and everything got pushed back. So then 2021, the MCU came back, not just with movies, but with TV shows on Disney Plus, WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier, Loki, Hawkeye. And then the movies, you had Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, Spider-Man No Way Home. And of all those movies and shows, like the only ones people really, really like are, I mean, there's No Way Home, obviously. And like with the shows, I mean, Loki got a season 2. WandaVision was well received until like the end where people were kind of questioning it. Falcon Winter Soldier, I don't think people really loved that much. And Hawkeye, people are just like whatever to that. But Black Widow was just kind of fine. Some people didn't like it all that much, but I thought it was just whatever. It was just fine. Shang-Chi was fine too. Eternals was fucking terrible. Everyone agreed that movie was ass. So yeah, things were already not weren't going good, and then 2022 it didn't get much better. I mean, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness doesn't exactly have a great reputation. And Thor Love and Thunder has a way worse reputation. People really don't like that movie. But Black Panther Wakanda Forever is considered to be fine. Then the shows, I mean, you got Moon Knight, you had Miss Marvel, which is connected to the Marvels. And, Moon Knight was received kind of meh, and the Miss Marvel same thing. Then you had She Hulk. I don't think I need to explain that one to you. You all know about She Hulk. It's best we don't talk about that one. um, yeah, but we had the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special. That was good. But then this year, oh god, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania flop city, a movie that was absolute ass. It may have low key been a franchise killer. That's a movie that will definitely make people go, you know what? Maybe I should stop watching Marvel movies. Maybe I should just quit. And that movie, yeah, it tanked pretty badly. But Guardians 3 did well, quite well. So that's not a negative. But there's also like Secret Invasion, that show, which had promise, but ended up being a fucking disaster, especially with the finale. Um, and now we're here with the Marvels. So yeah, the MCU, it's definitely seen better days, man. Like the hype is just gone. It's just gone. It feels almost like kind of like The Simpsons in a way, where like The Simpsons was once like this big acclaimed show, and then it dropped off in quality, and now it's just kind of just exists. It feels like a zombie. Although I've heard recent Simpsons stuff has actually been kind of good. So The Simpsons actually has is considered an improvement over the MCU nowadays. Yeah, the MCU has become very complacent. People are become really fucking tired of the formula. The formula needs an upgrade dramatically if it's gonna survive. So yeah, the MCU is not in a good place at all. And it doesn't help that like a little while ago there was a bombshell Variety article that dropped that really went over like all the big problems the MC was facing right now. Well, Jonathan Majors, Kang, and the fact that got to go through like his whole legal situation, and that's putting a lot of these movies and projects in jeopardy because he's supposed to be the new big bad, new Thanos, and without him, you're gonna have to change everything on the fly potentially. It's a whole mess with him. And then you got the Marvels, which had some really weird things that I didn't even know, like the fact that apparently the director, she just bailed like while the movie was in post production to work on another movie, although she's apparently refuted those claims. But yeah, I think that's weird. And apparently this movie had like a test screening like in Texas, and it went poorly. It had like very mixed reception. So, and this was like months ago, and it's just it's bad. And it also goes over other things like the Blade movie, She Hulk, Ant Man 3, some other projects. Yeah, that article is something. I would highly suggest reading it. I think I can look up the title of it because it is an article you really should read because damn, it really goes over so much. So much. Crisis at Marvel. That's what you should read. Read that. So yeah, the MCU is in a very bad place. So that's a con, obviously. Another con is with Captain Marvel herself. Like that first movie, going back to it, sure it made $1 billion. Sure it made more than Wonder Woman. But answer this. Does anyone really love, like truly love Captain Marvel? Does anyone? Because I don't think those people really exist. And if they exist, there's not too many of them out there. Because Captain Marvel was just a movie that just kind of, even like with all like the online insanity surrounding it, um, it just came out and a lot of people just like, it was just a movie. Like to me, it was hella mid, and that was really it. Like this movie, it never had like the same impact of say like an Iron Man or a Guardians of the Galaxy or a Black Panther, or even like the first Avengers, where people wanted more. People wanted more from like that world or from the characters. People wanted more. No one was really saying that with Captain Marvel. Like no one was really begging for a sequel. A sequel Bailey existed out of I guess financial obligation. Basically, well, this made money, so we gotta make another one. And the fact that Captain Marvel, the partially the reason why it made as much money as it did is because it was strategically placed in between Infinity War and Endgame. And with Endgame, it made you think, oh, she's going to be important in Endgame. When in reality, she barely did anything in Endgame. You could have cut her out of the movie, and not much would have changed at all. Like she was so inconsequential to that story. And then like after that, I mean, she's basically made a cameo appearance in like the Shang-Chi like post-credit scene, and then she was in the Miss Marvel show, which directly ties into the Marvels. And yeah, like just like the whole character and the characters, no one really cares that much about Captain Marvel. Like it just makes a sequel feel like a really like a foolish decision now. So yeah, the fact that Captain Marvel, despite being making a lot of money, no one really loved it all that much. No one really truly loved it, and no one really asked for a sequel. Yeah, that's a problem, big problem. So that's a con. Another con is the fact that for this movie, in order for, like it feels like the MCU going back to that. I haven't even mentioned this. The fact that it feels so just ugh cluttered and just filled with just so much too much content Way too much content. Just with movies and shows, it's too much. It is overwhelming. For the casual fan, it's an absolute fucking nightmare because you have to watch the movies, then you got to watch the shows because all of it connects with each other. So, like, if you watch like a future movie, there's a chance that some of the stuff is not going to make sense unless you watch like a show, which is tied to another movie, and it just becomes a web, and it's a mess, an absolute mess. Like for this, for example, you'd have to, to order truly, truly, truly understand what's going on, you need to watch WandaVision to know who Monica Rambeau is, who's like on the right here, and then you got the watch the Miss Marvel show, who's like on the left here. You gotta watch that. Then you gotta, I guess, watch Secret Invasion 2, when it revolves around like Nick Fury. And you gotta watch the first Captain Marvel. So that's like four things you gotta watch in order to truly get what's going on here. And like who has time for that? Honestly, not me. So yeah, so the fact that you have to watch like a bunch of shows just to get this, to truly get it, I think is just dumb. I don't think it helps the movie at all. It just makes you ask more questions. It just leaves more questions than answers. So, and it's just going to be very confusing for casual audiences, for casual fans. So yeah, the fact that this movie is very much like way too connected to the TV shows, that's a problem. So, or the Disney Plus show. So that's a con. Another con is just overall the energy around superhero movies. It's dying. It really is. 2023 has been horrid for superhero movies. I mean, we've only had like two success stories. You got Guardians 3 and you got Across the Spider-Verse. That's it. Everything else, bomb. Ant-Man 3, Shazam 2, The Flash, Blue Beetle, bombs. All of them. And here we are with the Marvels, and soon Aquaman 2. And I don't expect either of them to do well. I know for a fact the Marvels isn't going to do well, judged by the early numbers I've seen. But yeah, so the superhero movies, well, really superhero content, like with like movies and shows, it's just not the excitement is just not what it once was. I mean, that excitement is still there as long as it's not related to the MCU or the DCU. I mean, look at Across the Spider Verse, did great. I'm sure there's Guardians 3, which did really well, but like outside of that MCU bubble, I mean, Across the Spider Verse. Look at Invincible. Like people are really excited about that. I was way more excited about that than I ever was for really any of the MCU movies that have come out this year. Invincible is great, and a lot of people have kind of gravitated towards like that and like The Boys, stuff like that. Like people, want to see like more, I guess, more mature stuff. Stuff that isn't like so clean cut like MCU movies. So yeah, so the fact that the superhero genre, it's not in a great place at all, especially for like Marvel or in DC. So yeah, that's a con, definitely. Another con is Thursday previews. They are ass. They are sorry. They are terrible. 6.6 million. Yeah, 6.6 million. Let's compare this to several movies, shall we? Okay, Guardians. Okay, shoot, I pressed the wrong thing. Okay, what kind of comparison? Guardians 3, the last MCU movie. What was this Thursday preview? Let's see, 17.5. Okay. Ant-Man 3. What was that? Let's see. 17.5. Hmm. Black Panther Wakanda Forever. What was that? I mean, that movie came out like pretty much a year ago exactly. 28 million. Hmm. Let's keep going, shall we? Let's just keep going. Eternals also came out in November. 9.5. And keep in mind that this isn't a sequel. These was a whole bunch of new characters on the screen. And the same goes for a Shang-Chi. Let's look at that Thursday preview. 8.8. Hmm. Hmm. Also, what else we got? Black Widow. Let's discuss that. I mean, that's another female superhero movie. Makes sense. Uh, you can show it here. Okay. 13.2, despite the fact that this was on Disney Plus at the same time, part of the Disney Premier Access. So that's really interesting. And let's look at Captain Marvel, the first one. What was its Thursday previews? 20.7. Do you see the problem here? Do you see how bad this really is? Like the Marvel's Thursday preview was about like a third, literally like I think actually less than a third than they did the original Captain Marvel. Less than a third. That is fucking tragic. That is wow. Like that should really tell you a lot. A whole lot. It paints a very ugly picture. You know what paints an even uglier picture? The fact that this Thursday preview is actually worse than The Flash. The motherfucking Flash. One of the biggest failures in the history of movies, right here. The Flash. That had a Thursday preview of 9.7. So yeah, the fact that the Marvels could even match that spells like it screams catastrophe, absolute catastrophe. Even more than it, like it already wasn't looking good going into the weekend, but now after these Thursday previews, it's looking dire, like so dire. It's ugh. So yeah, Thursday previews are abysmal. Objectively, they're shit. So that's a con. Another con is the marketing for this movie. It's not been very good. The Marvel's done a damn good job making this movie a non-event because I watched the trailers for this movie, and man, my face was just it was I had a stone face the whole time watching it. Like it didn't like nothing about it made me go, "Damn, I should watch that." And in fact, I've decided I'm not gonna watch it. I'm just not gonna go to see it in theaters because I have no reason to. Like nothing about it makes me go, yeah, I should watch that on the big screen. So I just decided to skip it. I never skipped a Marvel movie before. It's well, at least like ever since I've been watching Marvel movies by myself, like going to the theater, I never skipped one. This is the first one I've skipped willingly. Like I generally just do not care about this movie at all. So, and I imagine that's the same for many people. So, yeah, the marketing didn't convince me at all to watch it. And don't even get me started about the final trailer, which is one of the most desperate things I've ever seen in my life. Like, that whole trailer was a clip show. They're showing, like, remember Iron Man? Remember Captain America? All these characters you like that are now gone? Remember them? And they tried to tie this into, like, Endgame, which is really weird because none of the other trailers try to do that. Like it felt so random and felt so forced. Like it's just why? It's just embarrassing, straight embarrassing. Like I can't. It was a movie. Everyone saw right through it. Everyone knew exactly what it was. A desperate attempt to get people to care about this movie. And guess what? Didn't work because people aren't stupid. We all knew what they were trying to do, and nobody fell for it. So yeah, that marketing, oof, that's a con. Another con I should mention is the reviews and the reaction for this movie. So reviews 62%, not great. And that's not terrible, but it's not great. So reviews aren't that they're not awful, but they're not very good. Audience score is at 85%, which isn't exactly super ideal, but it's not terrible either. What is terrible is its cinema score. Its cinema score is a B. A B, not a B plus, a B. Straight B. Yeah. So when it comes to certain genres, like a B could be like a good thing or a bad thing. For horror, like a B is actually above average. For a movie like this, a movie with broad appeal, a big audience friendly superhero movie, a B is fatal. It's fatal. That screams word of mouth is hella mid. I mean, the Flash also got a B, I believe. Was it a B? Yeah, The Flash got a B. And The Flash was brutally front loaded. Like that movie did not have a long. It had like one of the shortest lives I've ever seen for a comic book movie. So, what did Morbius have? I'm curious. It was a C plus, so it's not as bad as Morbius. I'm trying to think. Thor: Love and Thunder. That was a B plus. Eternals. What did that get? A B. The same grade as the Eternals. That is. Oh man. Uh, Ant-Man 3. What did that get? A B. So this has the same grade as Ant-Man 3 and The Eternals, two of the worst MCU movies ever made. That should really tell you that this movie is fucked. For real. So yeah, review while the critic score and audience score aren't too bad, the cinema score is shit for this movie. It is not good. So yeah, cinema score being a B, that's fatal. So that's a con. And I guess there's also the fact that competition coming up later in November. You got Hunger Games, Songbirds and Snakes next weekend, and there's nothing too extreme after that, but there's still a lot of movies, and they're gonna take up like take away this movie's screens and whatnot. And by the end of December, this movie's gonna cease to exist, 100%. So yeah, upcoming competition is gonna like steal away these movie screens. I think the biggest competition this movie has to deal with right now is Hunger Games next weekend. So yeah, so that's a future competition. And I think that's it. I think that's truly it. I think I've covered every little thing about this movie. Yeah, every little thing. So opening weekend projections for this movie were originally like at 75 to 80 million, which would have still been bad. But ever since they've been just dropping and dropping and dropping, and now it seems like 50 million seems like a stretch at this point. So I'm gonna have a bit of a wide range. I'm gonna say, I mean, I know this movie's technically opening on a holiday weekend, Veterans Day. Well, Veterans Day is today, but it would have like a positive impact on like Friday's numbers. I don't think it matters. I don't think anything's gonna save this movie at this point. I don't think a holiday's not gonna do jack shit to save this movie from its fate. So I'm gonna say 45 to 55 million. 45 to 55 million. I'm gonna have a bit of a wide range there. Which means this movie's gonna have the worst opening ever for an MCU movie. Which, yeah, worse than the Incredible Hulk, which is barely canon to the MCU. So, yeah, this movie's gonna open worse than that. That is just wow. I don't I don't think words can describe how bad that really is. And considering the budget is like 270 something million, it's well over 200 million. Yeah, this is gonna be a catastrophe at the box office. Disney's gonna lose a lot of money. It's gonna pro- I don't know if it's gonna lose as much money well, they've lost money on several of their movies. I know like their biggest bombs are easily there's Ant-Man 3, there's Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny, there's Haunted Mansion. Like this is gonna join them in the bomb department. And its final total, 100 million. It should. I will be stunned if this movie doesn't make 100 million domestic. But with that cinema score, it's possible this movie completely crumbles. It's very much possible. But I'm gonna say 100 to 120. Let's just go with that. 100 to 120. And that's it. That's it for the weekend. Thank God. My voice is absolutely shot right now. I don't want to talk about anything else. I'm not doing a video on Tiger 3. I'm just not. Okay. So next weekend, 4 more movies. Yeehaw. We got Hunger Games, Songbird, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. We got Next Goal Wins. We got Thanksgiving, and we got Trolls Band Together. So stay tuned for those movies. And I guess like after that, there's Napoleon, Wish, and Saltburn. So we got 7 movies in the next 2 weeks. Oh boy. So stay tuned for all those videos. But yeah, that's it. That's all. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, turn notifications, share the whole drill. We'll check out more videos like this. I got playlists on the homepage. All previous prediction videos I made this year, past few years. You want to watch you want to watch my prediction videos for say Ant-Man 3 and Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Want to watch those? Go right ahead. There's also the canceled series where I go over all the movies that were supposed to come out but didn't. I've talked about the Marvels quite a bit because this movie's been delayed quite a few times, like a rather concerning amount of times, which really should have been a red flag for the movie. Um, let's see. The first time I talked about it was episode 30, I believe. Yes, episode 30. That was when it was called Captain Marvel 2. It wasn't called the Marvels yet. I talked about it alongside Black Panther 2, which didn't have Wakanda Forever as a subtitle yet. Thor Love and Thunder, Free Guy, Death on the Nile, and The King's Man. Talked about it alongside those movies. So that was the first time. The next time I talked about it, according to this, was episode 84. Talked about it alongside Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, Thor Love and Thunder, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which got its title, The Marvels. That's when it got the name change. Let's see, not Captain America, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantum Mania, and Indiana Jones, Dial of Destiny. So that was the second time I talked about it. Next time I talked about it was episode 124. Discussed it alongside Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, where the two movies like switched dates. Where the Marvels was supposed to come out in February of this year, Ant-Man was supposed to be in July, then it got switched around. So yeah, that was that video. And the next time I discussed it was, I believe it was this year. It was episode 179. Actually, no, 178. 178. Where it got delayed to this weekend. So I talked about it alongside the Haunted Mansion movie, which took that July spot that the Marvels once had, and My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3. So I talked about it all those times. So if you want to watch any of those videos or any of the past cancel episodes I made like 3 this week. 215, 216, 217. If you want to watch any of those, you want to watch any of the cancel episodes I made on the channel from beginning to now, you want to binge them all from beginning to now, I highly encourage you to do that, so go do it. There's also box office recaps where I go over the box office results for any particular month. That video will come out in like 12 to 16 hours, give or take. Like, it should be like 12 to... It'll be in the afternoon today. I will tell you that it'll be in the afternoon, so stay tuned for that. And my November recap, that will come out the first week of December, so stay tuned for that as well. But if you want to watch any of the past recap videos I made on the channel, you can go right ahead. And yeah, that's it. That's all. I am out. Goodbye.